Are you looking for ways to use up that ground beef? I try to keep it on hand, especially in my freezer, because there's really so many different things you can do with it. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie, and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 ground beef dinner recipes you'll want to make again and again. Today's video is extra special. It's part of a collab with my bestest, sweetest friend here on YouTube, Sammi. I'm sure you already know her, but just in case you don't, she shares some of the most amazing dinner recipes. I'll have her channel linked below, so be sure to check her out. I'm pretty sure you're gonna love her as much as I do. Okay, y'all, let's get started. I love this chili cheese pasta. It's also a one-pot meal, which makes it even better. To begin, I've got 1 pound of ground beef in a large skillet. To that, I'm adding 1 small diced onion. I'm just breaking that up, and I'm going to let it cook until it's completely cooked through. It's done, so I'm just using a paper towel to soak up some of that grease. Next, we're going to add in 1 can of chili beans, and you don't want to drain those. There's a lot of flavor in there. I'm also adding 1 can of petite diced tomatoes, and I didn't drain those either. For the seasonings, I'm adding in some Badia Complete. It's just an all-purpose seasoning. I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of chili powder. Season it up how you would a good old pot of chili. For the pasta, I like to use Celentani, and you'll need 8 ounces of it, which is half of this box. I had half a bag of these twists in my pantry. I'm not sure where I got them, but they're the same thing, so I'm going to use these. You could also use shells, rotini, or even elbows. Now add in 3 cups of chicken broth, and then give it all a really good stir. You're going to bring this mixture to a boil, and then once it comes to a boil, you're going to cover it, reduce it to a simmer, and then let it continue to cook for 15 to 17 minutes until that pasta is done and most of that liquid has absorbed. You do want to stir this occasionally so that pasta doesn't stick to the bottom. And about halfway through, I just started using this black garlic, so I decided to add some of that. That pasta is done, so now I'm going to add in half a block of softened cream cheese. And just to make sure this mixed in very well, I did microwave mine for about 30 seconds. If your cream cheese is too cold, you will never get it mixed in, I'm telling you. Now to finish this off, I'm adding about 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Now you're just going to stir it until it's well combined. This is so good. It's cheesy, which we love, and the beans in there make it very hearty and filling. This is like the ultimate comfort food right here. And it's easy to make, it comes together quick, and that makes it perfect for any night of the week. I actually made this for lunch one day. Oh yes, I did. My sister lives next door, and she always comes home on her lunch break. So I called her and asked her if she wanted chili cheese pasta for lunch, and she said, yes, please. When I seen this recipe for grilled meatloaf burgers, I knew I had to try them. In a large bowl, I'm adding 1 pound of lean ground beef. And to that, I'm adding about 3 tablespoons of ketchup and 2 teaspoons of mustard. For the seasonings, I added 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. The recipe calls for half a cup of soft breadcrumbs. I just used a few slices of loaf bread. I put them in my food processor and blended them up into light, fluffy crumbs. Now I'm adding in 1/4 cup of milk, and I just used 2%. You're also going to add in 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. Okay, time to mix it all up. I used my dough whisk just to kind of break it up a little bit. I was really trying to avoid getting my hands in here, but you know what? When you're making meatloaf, you just gotta do it. And if it helps, you can throw on a pair of gloves. Here it is, it's all mixed together. Now it's time to shape them into some burgers. I divided that mixture into thirds and made 3 hamburger patties. Or I guess you could say meatloaf patties. Now you can throw these on the grill, but it's too cold outside. So I'm heading over to the stove top and I'm gonna do these there. I added a little oil to a large skillet, then I added in those burgers. I let them cook for about 5 minutes on that first side. Then I flipped them and then let them continue to cook for a few more minutes until they were done. And I'm not the best burger cooker here, so y'all will have to excuse my burger flipping skills because I don't have any. So I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can do it. When they're done, you don't have to do this, but I flipped them over one more time before I added on the cheese. Making burgers makes me think of summer, and I am ready for warm weather. Who else is ready for summer? I did turn the heat off, by the way, before I topped each piece with 1 slice of provolone cheese. And it melted quick. Now these burgers are ready to serve. I just served these with some potato wedges I cooked up in the air fryer. Or you could even do potato salad. What's your favorite side to have with burgers? We all gave these a 10 out of 10. And if you want to cut back on the carbs, you can always wrap it up in a lettuce wrap. I just wanted to jump in right quick and say, if you're coming over from Sammy's channel, welcome. My name is Valerie and I'm so glad you're here. I post lots of easy recipes, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Okay y'all, back to these recipes. I've made taco spaghetti before, but never in one pot. In a large skillet, I'm browning up 1 pound of lean ground beef. I just broke that up a little bit, then I added in 1 small diced onion. I'm just using my meat chopper. This thing works like a charm. I'm just breaking it up and I'm gonna let it cook until it's halfway cooked through. That's what the recipe says, so that's what I'm doing. And it also said do not drain the grease. Now I'm adding in 1 packet of taco seasoning. I mixed all that together and then let it continue to cook until that hamburger was completely cooked through. Now you're going to add in 1 1/4 cup of your favorite mild salsa. Now I'm adding in 8 ounces of angel hair pasta. And the recipe does say to break them in half, but these are the pot size, so they're already in half. Then cover all that with 3 cups of water. I tried to stir them, but they weren't really stirrable at this point, so I just kind of tried to tap them down and cover them in that water. I did turn the heat up to medium-high, then I put the lid on, but after just a few minutes, I did remove the lid and give them a good stir. And I found it easier to use my tongs to do this. I was able to kind of pick them up and flip them over and mix them around. I put the lid back on. I did continue to stir it occasionally, but I let this cook until those noodles were completely cooked through. Now, taco spaghetti has to have cheese, but before we add that, I'm going to give all this a really good stir, just to make sure those noodles are not stuck together. Now I'm adding in 8 ounces of cubed Velveeta cheese. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. It really does help me out, and it just lets me know you want to see more videos like this. I stirred all that together, then I put the lid back on and let it continue to simmer just until all that cheese was completely melted. Now mix it all together, and guess what? There is more cheese. The recipe calls for 1 cup of shredded Mexican cheese, but I'm just using a combination of cheddar and mozzarella. Just stir that up, and when the cheese is completely melted, this is ready to serve. This turned out amazing. We had no leftovers. And the only thing that I can say that I will do different next time is add a little extra ground beef. This was easy to make and it came together quick. And if you enjoy doing taco night once a week and you really just want to change it up a little bit, you have to try this. Now I'm going to show you how I make my vegetable soup. You'll need a large pot. I'm using my Dutch oven. I'm adding a couple tablespoons of butter and then 1 small diced onion. Do y'all like soup all year round or just when it's cold? I'll take it any day of the year. And I'm sauteing the onion just to soften it up a little bit. But you don't have to do this if you don't want to, especially if you want your onions to have a little bite to them. Okay, when those are tender, I added in a big old teaspoon of minced garlic, and I stirred that around and let it cook for about a minute or so, just until that garlic becomes fragrant. Now I'm adding in 6 cups of beef broth, or you could even use vegetable broth. And if you want to use the low sodium kind, you can. I'm also adding in 2 cups of water. Next, I'm adding in a 12-ounce bag of the frozen mixed vegetables, or you can use the equivalent to 3 cups of your favorite veggies. This is like a good dump and go meal. I'm also adding 1 can of tomato soup, along with 2 cans of the Italian-style petite diced tomatoes. This is optional, but I like to add in a small 8.5 ounce can of lima beans, and I did drain those just a little bit. Now you can season this up however you like, and I just added in a little salt, a little pepper, about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and 2 to 3 bay leaves. By the way, did y'all know they made ground bay leaf seasoning? I just found out and I can't wait to try it. That would be so much better than having to dig out your bay leaves at the end. I gave all that a really good stir and then I brought it up to a boil. When that came to a good simmer, I added in 1 pound of lean ground beef. And I don't even bother rolling it into meatballs. I just kind of break it up with my fingers and drop it in. That's just how my mama did it, so that's how I do it. After you get all that hamburger meat in there, you're going to stir it all up. I let that come up to a boil, and then I drop it back down to a good simmer. And while that's simmering away, I'm going to go ahead and cut up about 3 or 4 russet potatoes. These were small, so I did 4. I did wash them, peel them, and cut them into smaller sized chunks. Now I'm going to let this continue to simmer for about 30 minutes or so until all those veggies are tender. And while that's cooking, I went ahead and made a skillet of cornbread to go with it. When those veggies are tender, this next step is completely optional, but I like to add in 1 cup of elbow pasta. Do y'all like pasta in your vegetable soup? I grew up eating it this way and I love it. We're just going to let this continue to simmer until that pasta is tender and it's completely cooked through. This soup is absolutely delicious. But I will say, with the potatoes and the pasta in there, after it sits for a little bit, it does really thicken up. So if you feel like you need to add a little more broth or water, feel free to add anything you like. We like it a little more on the thicker side, so this is perfect for us. I seen this beefy burrito casserole on TikTok and I am so glad I tried it. To a large skillet, I added in 1 small diced onion, along with 1 pound of ground beef. You're just going to break it up and let it cook until that ground beef is completely cooked through. I decided to add in a little seasoning at this point. Y'all have to tell me, do you season your ground beef before or after you drain it? And all I added in was a little Badia Complete. When that ground beef was completely cooked through, I used a paper towel to get rid of that grease. Next, I'm adding in 1 packet of cheesy taco seasoning, And if you can't find this, just a regular packet of taco seasoning will work out just fine. Next, add in 1 can of refried beans. And I did try to break those up a little bit just so they were easier to mix. Now we're adding in 1 can of cream-style corn, along with 1 can of drained rotel. I wanted to add in some minced garlic, and I should have done that after the ground beef was done, but I didn't, so I'm adding it now. I've got the heat on medium here, and I'm just mixing it all together. I tried to do it with my meat chopper, but that just wasn't doing the trick, so I had to break out my spoon. But just let it simmer until that mixture is thickened and it's all well combined. Now I'm taking this and heading over to the counter. I'm using a 9x13 baking dish, and in a minute here I am going to spray that with non-stick spray. She didn't say what size tortillas to use, but I'm just using the large. There's 8 in here, but I only ended up using 5. So I'm not sure what I was thinking when I was doing this. I seem to have completely forgotten what she did in the video. And on top of that, I always tend to overfill things. So I laid down a burrito and I filled that thing up. Now in the video, I'm pretty sure she did use 5 tortillas, but she filled them up but didn't completely fill them. And then after she got them all rolled up, she added the remaining meat sauce mixture to the top of all of those burritos. And I guess I just felt like I needed to divide that mixture into 5 and make it fit in each one, which was really not a problem, but they would be so much easier to roll up if they weren't so overfilled. I could barely get them in this casserole dish. It was pretty funny actually. So if you try these, add enough of that mixture to each tortilla just to fill it up a decent amount, and then what you have left over, just spread it on top. So after you get them all in there, and then get that remaining mixture, which I did not have, but after you get your remaining mixture, you're going to spread it on top. Then you're going to drizzle over 1 can of red enchilada sauce. Then on top of that, I'm sprinkling over about 1.5 cups of shredded cheese, and I just used a combination of cheddar and mozzarella. Now this bakes at 350 for about 30 minutes until everything is warmed through and that cheese is bubbly and melted. Here it is right out of the oven. These turned out to be a huge hit. Even though I messed it up, well, I didn't really mess it up, but even though I didn't do it exactly like she had did it, they still turned out amazing. I just topped each one with sour cream and taco sauce. This will definitely not be the last time I make these. I just kept it simple and served it with some sliced avocado on the side. We love avocado, but you could also do guacamole or a side salad or even some Spanish rice. These were so good. My husband was ready for some good old hamburger and potatoes, so I made this cheesy hamburger and potato casserole. I've got 4 russet potatoes here that I washed, peeled, and sliced into about 1/4 inch thick slices. Just cut them about like this. Now I'm taking them over to the stovetop to boil them up for just a few minutes. That way they can go ahead and get a little tender and they don't have to take quite as long to cook in the oven. And I only boil them for about 8 minutes. Oh, and I do add in quite a bit of salt. Potatoes need salt. After 8 minutes, I'm going to drain them, and then if you want, you can rinse them with a little cold water. That way they don't sit there and continue to cook. And while all that's happening, over in a large skillet, I've got 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I added in half a diced onion, and feel free to season this however you like. I do about 1/2 teaspoon each of salt and pepper, and about a teaspoon each of garlic powder and onion powder. And now I'm just breaking this up, and I'm going to let it cook until that ground beef is cooked through. You can go ahead and drain that grease, or you can do like me and use a paper towel to soak most of it up. Now I'm adding in about a tablespoon of minced garlic, and just toss that around and let it cook for about 30 seconds or so, just until that garlic becomes fragrant. Next, you're going to add in 1 can of cheddar cheese soup. If you can't find this though, cream of mushroom would be really good, or even cream of celery. I had to make sure nothing got left behind here. Now I'm adding in about a 1/2 cup of sour cream. This next thing is going to add some really good flavor to this. 1 packet of the onion soup mix. Now I'm adding 1 cup of milk. And if you want, you can cook some bacon, crumble it up, and add that in. But I'm just using this 2.5 ounce pack of real bacon pieces. I'm all about convenience and easy here. And besides, every time I cook bacon, it's like Lacey can smell it from a mile away. And let me tell you, she will eat it all. So now you're just going to give all that a really good stir. Then we're going to take it over to the counter to put it all together. To a 9x13 baking dish, I did spray it with nonstick spray. Now I'm pouring in those partially cooked and drained potatoes. And I did try to spread those out a little. That way, they were in more of an even layer. Now you're going to cover all those potatoes with that delicious hamburger mixture. And just try to spread that out to cover those potatoes. We are almost done. One more thing to add on. 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Now this bakes at 350 for about 25 minutes, or until that cheese is melted and bubbly and those potatoes are tender. This casserole is so good. If you're in the mood for some comfort food, this is definitely one you need to try. It'll definitely stick to your ribs and fill you up. Do y'all have a recipe or a meal that you just crave when you're wanting something really good? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. My husband loves this one. He's a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to check out Sammi's channel. Also, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button below, and I will see you in the next one. Lacey, are you laughing at me?
No, hold on, I saw something else.
It's probably pork rinds.
Right here.
It's
on
probably
the other side.
No, it's pork rinds. Reminder, do not snack on pork rinds before you start a video. Are you looking for ways to use up that ground beef? I'm so cheesy. I'm so cheesy. Okay.
I'm recording this for Mima.
Okay. Hey Mima, I love you. And we'll do it one more time. Okay, y'all, let's get started.
Good.
Yay.